All right, Doc here for the Detroit Beard Collective. Are you rocking a beard this spring, cuz? Is your beard feeling dry, scaly? Could the flyaway hairs use some taming? Does your beard have leftover food in it? You can't be rocking a beard like that these days. There's companies out there that help you groom your beard in a nice, tight way. Go to DetroitBeardCollective.com, a Detroit company that provides quality beard care products. Go to their website, DetroitBeardCollective.com, and check out the many items that they sell. Beard care sets, combs, Detroit Beard Collective t-shirts, or the very popular Beard Crate, which is a comprehensive beard care set which allows you to choose your favorite Detroit Beard Collective product, all for one great price. DetroitBeardCollective.com.
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
All I want to know is you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
I said, are you strong? They said, I'm strong if you strong. And I said, we strong then.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Darren McCarty gets his shots in at Claude Lemieux. And look who came all the way out to try to help. Patrick Waugh. Oh, my goodness.
You are listening to the Doc and Jock Show on the Detroit Sports Podcast.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Welcome and thank you for downloading another episode of the Doc and Jock Sports Podcast. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin, Adam the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? What's happening, man? How's your health?
I'm good.
Thank goodness, man, because when there's breaking news and we're trying to get you on the line to break down important news in Detroit, you're not available.
It was my bad.
I'm like, I got to talk to Adam. What the hell's going on today? It's big news.
It's pretty much exactly what happened. I got home and I was like, man, my phone is going to be on overload. Because I ran out the door to head to the hospital, have a small procedure done. It took probably 2 or 3 hours longer than I had expected. And I left my phone sitting there on the table. And didn't realize it until I was halfway to the hospital. And at that point, there's no going back.
Yeah,
so
man.
I just had to muscle through. I'm sorry, dude.
No,
I didn't mean to leave you hanging.
No, it's all good, man. I'm just messing with you. We tried to not talk about the Tigers. I mean, they continue to upset us. It was great to see Daniel Norris have a strong debut, but the losing continues. And the first game of a series back home, and you got somewhat of a buzz playing the Kansas City Royals, and JV just gets knocked around. So we were like in the pre-show meeting, let's not talk about the Tigers. Let's just talk about the Lions, and let's start shifting our focus to NFL football, college football, Michigan State, Harbaugh, D'Antonio. Let's talk about that. And then what happens on Tuesday afternoon? The buzz starts. The media gets to Comerica Park, and there's a buzz. Another closed-door meeting. And initially, did you kind of think when you started hearing the buzz that maybe Ausmus got the X? I was thinking, oh, maybe they're going to do it. You wouldn't say that's the ideal time. You would have did it probably Monday on the day off. But the initial thought was, ooh, maybe Ausmus.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a shakeup for sure, but I didn't expect Dave Dombrowski to get the axe. That kind of threw me when I got back into the car and I was trying to piece everything back together. I turned the radio on and I was like, what the hell's going on here? They were like, Dave Dombrowski has been let go. There's going to be a presser. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. And I was like, what? Like, I was only in there for, like I said, 3-4 hours. What's going on here? What exactly happened? So I started trying to piece it all together, man. And presser kind of left me wanting more. And I think brought up more questions than it did answer. And I think that might be where we should start with this.
Okay, you think we should start with the Ilitch's decision to let go prematurely Dave Dombrowski from his contract? Because when you looked at it, Dave Dombrowski was under contract till October. When the team came back, obviously now news is kind of a little bit surfaced that the decision was made over the weekend. And I got the news from Jason Beck, his Twitter. I followed it along on Twitter. and it was great. Everyone's kind of like, ooh, there's a buzz, something's going on. And when there's a closed-door meeting and it's going on and the media is not getting a chance to have access, people start buzzing, and that's what I love about it. And right away, the information kind of started coming out. Boom, the news hit, and I was like, no, that's not how they did it. I was like, man, the Ilitch organization, man, they were kind of cold-blooded from what I've heard. The decision was made over the weekend, and the new general manager, Avila, was filled in on Saturday.
Dave Dombrowski's right-hand man, who's been rolling with him for 24 years, didn't even bother to even give him a heads up. Like, hey, buddy, guess what might happen?
Now, you and I talked on the podcast that a situation occurs when a person has a contract and it starts to near ending. You know, the ideal talk would be, okay, you know, maybe some information gets leaked out that, hey, the negotiations maybe aren't going anywhere, or maybe there's a situation, there's a disagreement of some sorts. The contract status for Dave Dombrowski was talked about because why hasn't he been extended? This is a guy that's had a run here in Detroit as the general manager and president for 14 seasons. And from where he began to where we are now is vastly different.
The guy went from worst to first. Like, you have to remember, when he took over this organization, they were absolutely pitiful. They were the laughingstock of baseball.
Yeah, and great moves were made. He used the resources that he had, and he built a major league caliber team. And there's a lot to get to regarding his tenure. We're going to talk all about it on this podcast. But first and foremost, after the All-Star break, really was a telltale sign for this organization. And really, they crapped the bed. It's been putrid baseball, and highlighted by bad pitching, the ineffective bullpen, and the offense being inconsistent. So then the organization became sellers. They allowed him to make the moves to help the team.
Which I think he made great moves to help this team. Very impressed by the moves that he made. Yeah,
we're going to get a chance when this podcast comes out already. The new pitcher Boyd will have pitched for the Tigers against Johnny Cueto and the Royals. So I'm hoping that turns out okay. Crossing my fingers here, hoping, but not too confident. So the decision's made. They don't even let him finish out the contract. So first and foremost, you agree with the Ilitch's decision and the timing, releasing Dave Dombrowski from his contract after 10 games on the road.
I think the timing was horrible. I think it was pitiful, actually. I think it looks really bad for the organization, the way they went about it. The releasing of Dave Dombrowski, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. His tenure here was very up and down. It was kind of a mixed bag. And I think sometimes a new voice, a new vision needs to be brought in. But you go ahead and you release him, and you bring in the guy who was right underneath him, who during his press conference said that he thumbs up everything that Dave Dombrowski has done, and he basically co-signed all the moves that he's made. So what dramatic change are we making here? What different vision? What different look? The thing I like about Avila is the fact that he's basically started from the bottom, and he's now the general manager. He's done all these different roles. He's been a scout. He's been a front office guy. He's basically grown up in baseball, as his dad was head of the Dodgers organization, or one of the heads of the Dodgers organization back, I think, in the 70s. So I like that he's a baseball mind, but I don't see a dramatic change in direction. I don't see a dramatic change in vision. I just see you replaced one guy for the guy who was behind him. You might be able to get him a little bit more on the cheap, and maybe you'll have a little bit more control, because you got to remember, Dave Dombrowski, Mike Ilitch, both hard-headed individuals who are very, very stubborn, and when they see something their way, it's only their way, and they don't let anybody else try to persuade them otherwise. So now maybe with Avila, maybe you get a guy who you can maybe talk to a little bit, you can discuss a few things with, but I just don't understand. I don't understand why now. Why now doesn't make sense. There's something that happened. This is going to be great fodder for the next couple years when all the truths kind of start to leak out. It's going to be one of those things that you look back on and you're like, oh, you remember that? That was insane when that happened. Oh, but this is why. This makes a lot more sense now. Because Mike Ilitch doesn't do things just half-cocked. He's usually thought out, well-prepared, and then he'll make a move. For Mike Ilitch to sit there, dismiss Dave Dombrowski, not come out, not have an actual press conference, just release this half-ass statement, because that's really what it was. Release a half-ass statement and just kind of hang out and not answer for anything is very unlike Mr. I. Very much so unlike him. And Dave Dombrowski just kind of walks out the door. Avila comes up, and then he just defers every other question. Oh, you got to talk to Mr. I. You got to talk to Mr. I. You got to talk. Well, where is Mr. I? Can somebody go pull him out of his coffin and shake off the mothballs, please? Can somebody revitalize him just a little bit? I don't know, get a defibrillator, jumpstart that heart so he can come over here and say a few words, because that would be really great. Because there's a whole bunch of questions that we kind of need answered, and we're not really getting those.
Right now, as we speak. It hasn't happened yet. Dave Dombrowski hasn't spoken.
Actually, I got something for you. Just came across.
There's a press conference coming up?
There's no press conference for him, but he did release a statement, and he said that he wasn't given a reason for being let go other than...
Well, I'll tell him the reason. I can tell him right now. I'll shoot right through it to him.
a change of direction. And he said he can respect that, which is Dave Dombrowski just politicking.
Wow, he got fired.
He got fired.
That's why this is such an interesting topic now to talk about is, one, the decision to move on from Dave Dombrowski, I agree with. 14 years with an organization as the head is kind of a long time, a long tenure, and he did not produce the ultimate result. That's the goal. The end game he was given 14 years. That's a long time, and the Ilitches were more than cordial, more than respectful in his time here. Now, the ending, the way he was let go, slightly disrespectful in terms of the way it was handled so far from what I've seen. When Avila, now I'm going to say his name correctly. You have said it wrong twice.
Dude, get it right. No, I heard he came out.
Avila.
I heard he came out and he specifically said that it's Avila.
Did he really?
I'm
wrong again.
That's what I heard.
That's what I'm saying, because why is it Alex Avila and Avila?
There's two different ways, man. I did a sports report this morning at the radio station that I work at, and I wanted to go and say Avila, like I caught myself and I was like Avila.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stuttered it out and it was awkward, man. It's because all this time we've been coached that it's Avila, and even Pedro Gomez said it that way on ESPN. So don't feel bad. Okay. I think you can get away with both ways.
Okay, let's just call him GML.
GML,
Mr.
That works. Or how about A squared?
Okay, A squared. Mr. L. Mm-hmm. Mr. L gets up there and kind of maybe slips, maybe doesn't recognize the impact of what he says. He says, I knew Saturday. They kind of told me I was getting the job Saturday. So now you are working.
Which this is extra disrespectful to Dave Dombrowski.
That's horrible. First of all,
you didn't even let him know that, hey, we're moving in another direction. You just went above his head and you went and grabbed his number 2.
What a dick.
Yes.
Now, that's something to talk about. You've worked with a man in partnership, in tandem, for several seasons. You're making moves, you're in these meetings, and if you and I had this situation going on and you knew something on Saturday and I'm getting axed on a Tuesday and you don't tell me, I'm going to be livid. It's going to be that would cause a big strain in our relationship. Mm-hmm. You could maybe fill me in a little bit, not let me bring my family to the park on a Tuesday only to be devastated by the news that your dad's getting fired. Imagine now that we all recall in the World Series, Dave Dombrowski and his son watching the games, rooting on, and in key moments. So that in and of itself is kind of a little bit of a eye-opening experience going, you knew on Saturday, you don't tell the guy you were working with, and you come out then in the media and release that. Why would you say that? Just say, it kind of came about. I'm always in close contact with Mr. Ilitch, and this is what happened. So that way, I believe, is quite disrespectful to what Dave Dombrowski did. I don't think that should have. I think he should have been allowed to finish out the season and have a press conference, say, listen, we're going in a new direction. We're so grateful for the work that Dave put in here. We remember the days in the late 90s when it was just abysmal. You knew they didn't have a chance. He was the architect of the revival of baseball in Detroit. Comerica Park was now lively. We had 2 World Series here in Detroit. He deserves credit. His tenure here in Detroit, we're going to talk about it for sure. But the way he was shown out the door and to give the job to someone that he was working with on a Saturday and then to fire him on a Tuesday, I totally disagree. I think that was disrespectful.
I don't think it was done properly. If you don't like the way the guy's doing what he's doing, don't give him the power to sit there and then make trades for your ball club, whether or not you think they're going to better your ball club or not. Here's the thing that came out during that press conference, too. Mike Ilitch has to co-sign all of these moves. He says yay or nay to all of these moves that Dave Dombrowski performs. So you can't be upset that Dave traded away assets. You were in on that conversation when everybody decided it's time to sell, according to Avila, right? So you can't be mad at him about him trading away the assets and getting what he got in return, because I think by and large everybody agrees that he got a lot in return. He got some very good prospects in return, which is what this ball club needs. That being said, you now can't go ahead and just because they're losing, you can't just. I guess you can just fire him. It's what kind of happened here, but I just don't understand. The whole timing of everything is it's very screwy and just almost gets me speechless because you're not used to Mr. I doing things like this. You're not used to the Ilitches performing like this. And then to not come out and address it with the media.
Now let me bring up a point too.
It's just mind-boggling.
Now this is big time sports and big time contracts, and you have a team of people, you have lawyers, you have, what we call feelers, you would say.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a chance now Dave Dombrowski knows that, okay, I've been here 14 years. There's a strong chance now this year is a wash. We're sellers. It's kind of an embarrassment to the organization. We're going to upset the fans highly. The season has been a disappointment on a lot of levels. A lot of the talk has been negative about Ausmus, the pitching, the moves that I've made. Part of them had to know a little bit there was a chance, not having a contract, that he was going to be shown the door maybe at the end of the season. Maybe on some level, he maybe sent out some feelers to the Blue Jays, to the Red Sox, to the Angels.
Think they got back to Mr. I?
To Major League Baseball. And I think on some level, Mr. I probably found out about it, and he doesn't like that and probably felt that, oh, okay. Because look at the wording. We are releasing him from his contract in order to allow him to get further opportunities. So from what I'm thinking the Ilitches said, you know what, we think that he's looking elsewhere. There's a lot of talk and noise that maybe Dave is not 150% into what he's doing right here. And when a boss senses that, some bosses are like, you know what, if you're not with me 1,000%, then I got to let you go. And that's what happened, I think.
But why would you allow him to then go ahead and make these trades that are either going to, better your ball club or worsen your ball club?
Well, first of all,
that's really weird to me.
Well, Dave Dombrowski is known as a true professional.
He is.
And so I think
he's a tradesman for sure. The guy can't draft for crap, but he can sit there and that guy could sell sand in the desert, dude, for real.
Until Tuesday when the meeting happened, he was informed and he was notified that he was no longer the GM. I fully believe he was committed. He was committed to doing the job that he had. But he had to be also looking at the future. You have to be. That's normal. And also, too, you also don't know, did he potentially, on the down low, make a power play move with the Ilitches? Say, listen, I got this offer with Major League Baseball. I could be doing this and this and this. This is the numbers I want. That's probably never going to be talked about. But there's two scenarios that are likely, is that maybe the Ilitches caught wind of some of the things that he was doing, or he did what he could also have done, too. An option he could have said was, listen, this is the contract I've been kind of offered in different situations. These are the numbers that I've been kind of, been mauled around a little bit. And they got wind of it and said, we're not going to continue to go to $3 to $4 million a year with what you're doing. Because I don't think the new general manager is making $3 million a year. So you can, now you got a guy who's been under him, who's been involved in you got the exact same guy.
Yeah.
Basically,
he's handled everything in this organization for the last 14 years as well.
You're not paying him $3 million. So
exactly.
Cha-ching, bada bing, winner for the organization.
But does Avila make you feel better about Dave Dombrowski being the general manager, or about being the general manager?
I would have liked
taking Dave Dombrowski's place, because I think I feel better about having Dave Dombrowski sitting in that chair than I do Avila sitting in that chair.
I think that right now, where the Tigers stand, a thorough search would have been perfect, warranted.
Yeah,
you need to have a thorough search. Look at someone that can build the minors.
That's exactly what I want. Avila might be that guy.
We got to look into it. Are there any young general managers out there that can come in and and we said it too on our podcast and others too. Why didn't we pinch someone young and enthusiastic from St. Louis, from San Francisco, from organizations that are successful? In the NBA, there's several branches of coaches that came from Popovich because their organization's a winner. Why not go out and find guys that have tasted success from the Cardinals, from the Braves, from the San Francisco Giants? Go out there and get him. A thorough search. And he's going to get a 5-year deal. So that's the guy. And he's going to be now in charge of two big decisions right away. And we're going to talk about it probably in later podcasts too, is what's he going to do with Ausmus? Because he would shoot up the respect level if he made the ultimate move right away at the end of the season and just say, you know what, we got to go with someone with a little bit more experience. How is he going to handle the contract situation with his son? I love his attempt at trying to keep the fans' spirits alive. We're still committed to winning this year. Come on, we understand. We're still supporting you.
Yeah.
The season's a wash.
We are much smarter baseball fans than you're giving us credit for.
Come on now. We know that when you make those moves, when you have a Wednesday night matchup of Johnny Cueto versus Matt Boyd, come on now. Now I'm hoping maybe he'll impress and we'll get the win and the offense will pick up. But we needed Justin Verlander to come out and pitch well the first game versus Kansas City, and it didn't happen. So as we speak, he's the new general manager is 0-1. So yeah, it reeks of more investigation. We need to know a little bit more, and maybe it'll come out, maybe it won't. But right now, all we can do is talk about Dave Dombrowski and what he did here. Give him the appreciation that he deserves. But at the same time, when you look at it in general, and it's not to be mean, his tenure was a failure because your tenure is marked by one big goal: bring this team a World Series. That's the goal. Now, when you say that it's a failure, people get all this negative connotation and tweets start firing in and, what? This team was horrible. He did this, he did that. Now, saying that his tenure was a failure is not to discount that he did some great things. All general managers, all coaches, all head coaches, managers, their ultimate goal is winning the championship. So if that's the goal, then you mark his tenure on that level. Now, did he do a lot of good things to try to reach that level? He did a hell of a lot of good things. Did he do some things to try and keep at that level? And it wasn't as successful. I'm very thrilled that he was here. His mark on this organization will be here for a long time. And I think that's when he sits back and looks, I think he's going to realize that his imprint on this organization has been made. He can sit back and honestly look at himself. Just look at these suitors that are going to come out. And like you said, he walked to the door. He probably got 8 messages. Anaheim, Toronto, Boston, and a bunch of other teams that are going to line up for this guy. This guy is a respected general manager, so we're not going to just broom him out the door like a Randy Smith. He wasn't a bum, but he deserves the respect. It's just he didn't bring us the gold, and that's that.
I think his tenure was very complicated. I think that's the word here. It's complicated because, like you said, for everything good that he did, he screwed something up. I mean, let's look at Doug Fister. Doug Fister's a prime example. Everybody knows I love Doug Fister. And I hated the Doug Fister trade. He traded for a guy like Doug Fister, got him here. And then he turned around and sold him for peanuts. He brought you Miguel Cabrera. And then he sat there, didn't make a qualifying offer for Johnny Peralta. Do you know what I'm saying? And so that hurts you in the draft. He sat there, he brought you a guy like Carlos Guillen, brought you Pudge Rodriguez. He sat there and traded for Jock Jones. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I mean,
Jock Jones.
For every good move he made, he sat there and boned something. And I think that was probably his biggest problem. He couldn't get out of his own way. He never addressed the bullpen, which was something that could have won us a World Series back in 2012, could have won us a World Series in 2006. Never ever addressed it. He sat there and tried putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds there, and it just completely obliterated. And if you look at it now, today, that bullpen has cost us probably 10 to 15 games this season. That bullpen can't keep a lead, and it can't get you a W when you need it. Nobody feels safe when they sit there and they leave an inning and leave a game in the 7th inning and turn it over to that bullpen. It's horrible. Besides Alex Wilson, who do you got? You got nothing. And Alex Wilson's wishy-washy right now.
Hey, don't hate on Alex Wilson. He's the closer of the future.
He is. He might be. I was going to make a case for that in our other show, but we had to scratch all that to talk about this. But I think it's very complicated because he's a very up and down general manager. For as much money as he was given and as much carte blanche and freedom as he was given, the guy I feel like should have brought us a World Series. Mm-hmm. Not just get us there twice, not just win 4 back-to-back AL Central championships in what probably is the weakest division in all of baseball, especially during that time period. So it's just, for everything good he did, there's like a lump of coal just sitting there staring you in the eye, just blinking at you.
Yeah, so now you wouldn't consider Toronto a big money market, right? They're not really going to keep and spend $225 million on David Price, right? Because if you look at Dave Dombrowski's future, he really should just take a plane and get his ass over to Boston, because that's the perfect place. He can continue his ways over there at Boston, write checks, he can deplete the minors there and bring in talent. And the biggest thing is, and we talked about it way early in the podcast, I remember talking about it, and our initial thoughts were, do you want to build a team like the Yankees where we just spend and not really care about the minors? When we were having that argument back then, we were saying, look, we got talent, we got box office players, we got a great vibe at Comerica, and a competitive team. But we also we did say, hey, back in October 2013, you wrote it. These numbers can't be sustained this way. You wrote on DetroitSportsPodcast.com in a blog that the run was over after the playoff loss in October 2013 because the salaries were so high, and you pointed out specifically in big, bold letters, we really only got one guy in the minors that we're looking at, and that's Castellanos. We knew anybody that was watching.
How's Nicky C doing?
He's got pop.
He has potential.
Got potential.
Just say that he has potential.
Got potential. We want to do more. So that's what it is. But he depleted the minors to get the talent. Back
And that's
then,
how he
and
builds
listen,
a team,
and the fans
which
can't be
is-
hypocrites. Yeah, the fans can't be hypocrites. You packed the stadium. You went to Comerica Park. You were loving it when we were in the World Series. And
You wanted to see Miggy. You wanted to see all these guys. You wanted to see Justin Verlander and his bloated contract.
there was no big rally to care about the minors because really, and I've said it.
Well, it was a win now mode though.
It was win now mode. So now
I think part of this is Illich's fault as well.
because he allowed this to happen.
Yeah, and he sat there in the decree for this team comes from him. It's win now. Whatever you have to do, win now. So Dave Dombrowski comes in and just starts chopping the minor league system up into pieces, sitting there shipping it off to get guys in here who can help you win. And in the end,
that's the biggest mistake.
we have no World Series.
That's the
and we
biggest
have
mistake.
zero depth on this team.
You can openly talk about it. Sometimes when you push all your chips to the middle, you get a bad beat on the river and you lose all your chips. You pushed your chips in the middle. You had aces. You had what statistically you would say is the advantage. You had good players. You had a lot of guys in their prime. It just didn't work out. Something else happened. The Giants came in, the Cardinals came in, and they beat us. They were better. That's just the way it is. Now, officially, it's a reboot. I don't think it's going to be a quick fix, and I don't think they got the right guy. I'm not 100% in favor of the new general manager. I would have liked a thorough search. It's a new era. Start over. Bring in a new guy, new blood, new energy, someone that's going to, look at sabermetrics, that someone's going to know not to bring in a 39-year-old closer and who's going to wash out, not to bring in Jabba Chamberlain, not to bring in guys that are retreads and try to sell them off as, effective major league players. That's what I would want. But you promoted from within. Now this is another big test because how patient is the fan base going to be? Because I think everyone's kind of teetering a little bit. They're saying, okay, we know this guy's someone that's worked with Dave Dombrowski, so he might pick up on some things. And they're starting to use those good words. They're starting to say he was kind of a guy that was a factor in bringing in Miggy. He was a factor in bringing in J.D. Martinez. So they're starting to push up that PR that this is the guy. First order of business. Time for a new manager. You want to still have a good budget and a good payroll, bring in a manager that can manage this team. That will give me the confidence that the new general manager will take this team to the promised land. Get me some experience at the managerial level, and I'll be happy.
Going by the presser, I'm not 100% sold that Brad Ausmus is going to be here next year. He gave him the death blow yesterday.
He still got a year on his contract, so
yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's the Tigers, man. They write checks for everything. It doesn't matter. They're still paying Prince Fielder. So he gave him the death blow by saying, I have full confidence in him. He's going to be here until the end of this season, and then we'll reevaluate, but I have full confidence in him. He gave him the full confidence stamp of approval. You know what that means? That means he's on his way out the door. So I don't think Brad Ausmus is here next year. Whether Avila is the right guy or not, I'm not completely sold, but a few things that I do like that kind of sway me a little bit in his favor. The guy's done it all, man. He's done it all. You said it yourself. He was instrumental in getting Miguel Cabrera, not just to the Tigers, but to the big leagues. He evaluated him. He was the talent evaluator on Miguel Cabrera. He went and he schmoozed J.D. Martinez and talked him into coming over here to sign because he seen something in J.D. Martinez. He sat there, brought a guy like Alex Gonzalez, Luis Castillo, Edgar Renteria, got those guys to sign and got them into the league. So he has an eye for talent, which is something I think Dave Dombrowski kind of missed on. Dave Dombrowski was great at sales and sitting there conducting trades. I don't think Dave Dombrowski had a really good eye for talent because if you look at our minor league system, as chopped up as it was, he sold all those guys off at their highest point when their value was at their most to get what he got in return. And if you looked at how all those guys performed, they all flamed out. Like 1 year in the bigs, and they all flamed out if they ever got there. So I think this guy has a real eye for talent. I think he kind of knows what he's doing. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm not 100% confident he gets us a World Series. Like you said, I would have much preferred a thorough search, and in the end, if he's down to your final two candidates and you feel more comfortable with him because you know him, he's part of this organization, all that bodes in his favor, go ahead and sign him. But just don't go ahead and you're the guy. Let's go. We're making a trade.
Yeah, there's a saying, it's not coming to my head off the top of my head, but there's a saying where you want to kind of, have the lower perception and over-deliver.
Yeah.
I think it's time now for the fans to kind of realize and accept this is not a World Series team, and it may take a couple of seasons to get back at that level. This year, they're not going to make the playoffs.
Do Detroit fans really still think this was a World Series contending team, at least a playoff contending team?
I think people are holding hope.
I've been screaming it for months that this team is not a playoff contending team. They're garbage. The way they're currently constructed, they are awful. Yeah. Absolutely awful.
There's still a little bit of hope because the extra team in the wild card gives everybody that little bit extra hope. even with all the losing, they're still only 4 games back of Toronto. And if they could just get on a winning streak and just play better, the season's so long. There's 2 more months of the season. It's a struggle to watch what the Tigers are doing because there's talent. It's just they're not achieving collectively as a unit. And right now the organization's in flux. They blew it up. And it happened so fast. I mean, literally, we were talking, okay, maybe a 90-win team, 91-win team, getting to the wild card, maybe losing, not being a World Series team, to organization now in complete flux. And it's a little bit unsettling, but knowing that a guy had the experience and worked under Dave Dombrowski kind of puts your mind at ease, but he's got to make some tough moves right away. He's got to make some tough moves. And it's not like they gave it over to a rookie. They gave it over to a guy that they trust and they can potentially manage. But you got to know this now. We're not spending the same amount of money.
No, we're not. And they've come out and they've said that as much. The thing that's good, though, that I do like is he's had his hands on every little bit of this organization. So he knows what needs to be corrected. He knows where they're strong. He knows where they're weak. So hopefully he can address those issues, and maybe he does win us a World Series.
All right. Now it's time to kind of hunker down and put on the patience hat for sure. Stay with us after the break. We're going to play a round of Jock Jams. The Doc has 3 great questions lined up, and the Jock is ready to bring the noise, bring strong opinions regarding the news and notes in the sporting world. Stay with us, DetroitSportsPodcast.com, Doc and Jock, Podcast 104. All right, everybody, thank you so much for your support. Lots of ways to support us here at the podcast. If you like what you're listening to, if you enjoy the podcast, if you want us to continue to provide great content every Monday and Thursday, if you want us to continue to take phone calls, just go to our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Click through those banner links. Lots of great online deals. I know everybody that's listening likes to save money. DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Click through those banner links, bookmark them, and every time you shop online, nothing extra happens. You get charged no more money. But when you shop online through DetroitSportsPodcast.com, they kick us back a little something, and we can continue to provide great content. DetroitSportsPodcast.com. We greatly appreciate it. Yes, sir. Two pieces of breaking news, cuz DeAndre Levy signed 4 more years. Came just across the wire here on Twitter. I love doing this, man. Right around the time we do it, breaking news happens, and DeAndre Levy signed. You know the numbers?
I don't know the numbers.
We'll look it up. We'll look it up while we're doing this. But other news: they found the missing plane after a year and some change. Andrea texted me, and I was all about it when that plane went missing. You know, I'm a terrified flyer. I hate flying, and to think that a plane could go out there and just poof disappear off the.
This is that Malaysia 77 whatever flight.
Yeah, the plane's a 777, Boeing 777. Yep. I was just listening to the music in the commercial, and I got the text from the wife that they found the missing plane. So
it only took forever. You know, I don't understand how a plane goes missing, but whatever.
And I say thank goodness, knowing that the families are going to have a heavy heart, but knowing that they're going to get some closure, and to have that hope, and to keep wondering that maybe the family members could still be alive. You don't want that to go down. That can really mess up with your mind. And now the healing process can begin, and the grieving. They can do it in a healthy way, the best way for them. But hopefully they learn that you got to be able to track these planes, especially nowadays. You got to be able to track these planes. Otherwise, like I said, I'm just going to keep driving. All right.
Never stepping foot in a plane, are you?
It's been 3 years. Not looking forward to it, and no plans anytime soon. All right, this is what we call Jock Jams. All right, cuz former high-profile athletes have been selling off their stuff on eBay. From time to time, I'll browse eBay and see what's kind of being sold. I like to look to see if any athletes are selling off any championship rings or things like that. You know, obviously, I'm never going to bid $2,500 for a ring, but I like to see who's selling stuff. Recently, Jim Craig, USA Hockey, has been selling off memorabilia. Is there one piece of Detroit sports memorabilia that you'd want, and why? Money not being an object. You could have whatever you wanted. What piece of memorabilia would you want in Detroit?
Right off the top of my head, the one thing I want is the Steve Yzerman banner that hangs in Joe Louis. In my living room, it's kind of like a monument to Steve Yzerman and to the Red Wings. So that would go perfectly in my living room there, in my front room. It'd be outstanding. It'd fit perfectly. I would want that. Maybe when everything is said and done at the Joe, and of course I would want this cleaned and sanitized, but maybe I would take a urinal from the Joe just because of how horrible those things are and how awful they are. And it'd just be fun to point at and laugh because, like, you just remember that you and a whole bunch of other dudes stood there crown to crown just going.
Are you a big memorabilia guy? Do you have any pieces that of note that you like? What do you got? What's your favorite piece of memorabilia?
I have an autographed Henrik Zetterberg jersey that's framed. I've got a Steve Yzerman autographed picture of him holding the Stanley Cup when they won in '97. I have Steve Yzerman's last step as he was coming off the ice in Edmonton. I've got the Sports Illustrated when Steve Yzerman retired. That has been framed. That's hanging up. I've got autographed pucks by Wayne Gretzky, Maurice Richard. I have another autographed puck. I don't remember which one, whose autograph that was, but just different stuff, different hockey items. I have I have an Ed Belfour helmet. The year that they won 62 wins, it's an Ed Belfour helmet with a giant octopus on it, and it's got a banner that says 62 wins, and it was signed by Mr. and Mrs. Howe, and it was signed by Mike Vernon and Chris Osgood, and I think I have Darren McCarty's autograph on that as well. So just different odds and ends, different trinkets. I've got like a Sean Burr stick. Remember Sean Burr? I got one of his like house fur sticks, and it's got like, I don't know, Paul Coffey's signature on it, Tim Chevelday, I think Paul Yzerbart, just like those Red Wings, Steve Chason, like that's how old this is. So yeah, I've got all kinds of just odds and ends, just random things. So yeah, I'm a big memorabilia guy, I guess.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. I'm more
You're a bobblehead guy.
I'm a bobblehead guy. Nice and simple. So when we have this kind of talk, I have the one thing I do cherish though. I had a book and I got to meet Ernie Harwell face to face in person. It was great. He had a book signing and I took a book and we chatted like a couple minutes. Just I was a big baseball fan and said thank you. He was so nice and gracious. But I have an autographed book of Ernie Harwell's, and I keep that right on the table. But I love me some bobbleheads. That's my thing. And I like the Alexander Global Promotions brand. Free plug for them. So I have a whole glass case full of bobbleheads, football, hockey, baseball. Even got some old radio guys from Detroit that made a bobblehead. So if you make a bobblehead, I like to look at it. And there's some stores around here, but I know that I think it was in Miami or one of the new baseball stadiums has a bobblehead museum. I'm like dying to go there. I think it's Miami, but one of the new stadiums with the new all the great amenities has like a bobblehead certain area. So I want to go check that out. But I'm not really a big memorabilia guy per se.
You are a bobblehead guy all day long.
All right, now the big news and notes regarding the NFL has to do with a couple things, but a theme that's been permeating week after week because guys keep talking as they keep getting shuffled from Philly. Chip Kelley and his relationship with African-American football players has been really fascinating to look at. Because of the vast nature of the moves that he made, some of the players kind of have sprinkled out there that maybe Chip Kelley doesn't like African Americans or that he has issues kind of working with African Americans. It's kind of taking on a life of its own, whereas every player that gets waived or traded is kind of being asked about it. In your opinion, does Chip Kelley have an image problem within the league and his own team?
You know who else they said had problems like this with players?
Who's that?
Bill Belichick. Guys just like that. Chip Kelley's cut from the same cloth as Belichick. They're both ornery guys. They both have their own way of doing things. They don't want to hear what you have to say. It's their way or the highway. That's it. That's exactly how it's going to go. You know who could have said that he has a problem with white players? It could have been Nick Foles. You know, a guy who basically sat there and got you to the playoffs, what looked like a stud, didn't fit his scheme. Wasn't what he wanted. Dealt him off. Got a guy like Sam Bradford. Really, Sam Bradford. The guy doesn't have any healthy knees in his body. So I don't think he has an image problem. I think it's his way or it's the highway. If you don't like it, go fly a kite. And that's just the way he kind of runs his program. He's a surly guy, and he's got an image that he wants to build this football team in, and he has a way that he wants to design it. He wants every player for every specific position to be built and to perform in a certain way. If you're 5'8", you're 5'9", you're 190 pounds, and you're built like a brick shithouse, and you're play cornerback, you're not going to work in his scheme. He wants you long, he wants you lean, he wants you quick. He wants you to be able to go up with the tallest receivers out there. That's what he's looking for. That's exactly what he wants. If you're a quarterback, he wants you to be able to make good decisions. He wants you to be able to hit that check down pass. You know, I think he still prefers a mobile quarterback, but you're not going to get that with Sam Bradford. So I'm really confused by the whole Sam Bradford thing. I don't know how that's going to work. That's going to be interesting to see. But he has a way that he wants to build this. He wants athletic guys on the edge. He wants big guys up front who are quick and fast. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and if he had problems with African Americans, I don't think that coaching would be in his best interest.
No,
Because,
not at all.
The majority of players are going to be African American. You're going to have coaches to work with.
At least 80% of his team is African American. So come on.
Yeah, I just think the players maybe have some sour grapes and have some. And I think the issue is this, though. I think the issue is that Riley Cooper's still on the team after what he did last season. So it puts kind of a question mark on your credibility and what's going on here. A guy drops an N-bomb at a concert or wherever he dropped it at. He's still on the team. He hasn't really reprimanded seriously, and he's still on the team. So
Let me ask you this: if the team captains had a huge issue with it, do you think Riley Cooper would still be on the team?
Yeah, I think that if you can play and there's a perception that you have talent, they'd overlook that.
Exactly. That's what it is. Riley Cooper is a productive guy in his scheme, and if the team captains don't have a problem with it, and it didn't divide the locker room, because there was no reports that there was a divided locker room, I don't see an issue with it. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, let's not get it twisted. Riley Cooper was in the wrong, and he came out and he apologized for what he did, and by all accounts, he's been a better teammate because of it. So I don't think that holds any weight.
I think he needs to do something quick to kind of quell this right away. Every time a player gets cut from he's got to have to deal with this. He's got to end this quick. Otherwise, this thing will fester and grow out of control.
Dude, the thing is, it's a business. Players have to be smarter. You have to be more intelligent. You have to know that you are bought one day to be sold another day. Nothing is ever guaranteed. The only thing that's guaranteed, what is it? I think it's basketball contracts. The only thing that's guaranteed. That's the only one that you're making all that money on. So you're bought one day, you're sold the other. It's what it is, man.
This is where I get ornery. Just today, we were talking about this.
This will be good.
Yeah, I'm ornery. Now I'm mad. That's it. I've had it after today. This is my breaking point.
I'm going to get you a box of Kleenex here.
I've been patient long enough. Jim Harbaugh came, and we said, yes, he's a great coach. The parade happened, all the coverage. Everyone's clicking through to see everything about Harbaugh. The doc's been calm and respectful, saying, yes, he's a great coach. Yes, it's going to be different. Yes, there's a situation where now the rivalry with Michigan State's going to pick up. This is all good. But the complete level of disrespect towards Michigan State has now gotten to a whole new level. Today, on Wednesday, Mark D'Antonio went to ESPN, and he's doing the whole press junket, going on all the shows, all the radio programs, Sports Center. Kerry Champion says, we'll be back with Mike D'Antoni. I'm like, come on, are you serious? They're playing that clip on the radio. I'm seeing tweets. Come on, dude. And they're asking him, all the questions are about, what is it like to have Harbaugh? Are you guys panicking that Harbaugh? No, they're not panicking. And today, finally, D'Antonio said something that was awesome. He's like, yeah, we're coaches, but players make plays. Period. Basically cementing that, hey, our guys have what it takes to beat Michigan. And I don't think that Michigan State has gotten the level of respect after coming off of 2 top 5 finishes in back-to-back seasons. All the love for Harbaugh, all the covers for Harbaugh. And I know people say, well, yeah, he's a great coach, and yeah, he comes with cachet, and he's building up the program. But at the same time, we don't just prop up one program and disregard another. You have interviews with guys from ESPN who are towing the line and things like that. Joe Shad from ESPN, college football aficionado, is like, oh, yeah, no doubts about it. U of M's going to come out and win a national title within 3 to 4 years, and MSU's on the downswing. Give me a break. On the downswing.
What a dick.
That's not happening. The foundation of Michigan State is built perfectly on the trenches. You got great offensive line and defensive line. How is Michigan State how are they gonna fall off? D'Antonio's come in there, and what else does he need to do besides win the national title? He's brought us a Rose Bowl. He's brought us national success.
Are you done yet?
No,
you're still going on.
I'm pissed. It's not enough. I think there needs to be. I think people are afraid to.
What do you want? You are ranked 6th in the nation. Shut up. I had enough.
No,
you're ranked
more.
6th in the nation. What do you want? What do you want?
I'll tell you.
You want a box of Kleenex. All you Michigan State Spartans, you're all a bunch of crybabies. Shut up. Shut up. You have to manufacture hate. You have to manufacture hate so you guys can be good. Shut up. Just be good. Look, Jim Harbaugh was the hottest name either in the NFL or in the NCAA. He was the hottest coach out there. Michigan got him. Michigan went out and grabbed him. It was a nice fit. It's a nice story. It's easy. That's what it is. Media members are lazy, so it's easy to talk about. That's exactly what it is. U of M, OSU. That's what it is. That's what carried the Big Ten for, 15, 20 years. MSU was here. You guys are ranked 6th in the nation. 6th.
Okay, here's
You're
what I want.
right there.
I'll tell you
You're
what
in
I want.
the top 10. You're in the top 10 preseason poll. You guys have a big game against Oregon coming up. You don't think that's not going to be televised? You don't think nobody's going to talk about this? You don't think that game day is not going to be, whether it be in East Lansing or it's in Eugene? You don't think that's not going to happen? That's definitely going to happen. You guys cry and you make so much stuff up and blow everything out of proportion just because you guys aren't mentioned in the same breath as Urban Meyer or Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh hasn't even played a damn game yet. Hasn't played a damn game. But all the stories are about he's at this ball, he's at that ball. Who cares? Who cares? Why do you guys let that bother you? You guys are little brother. This is why you guys have that title. You guys cry and whine like little girls and little babies because, oh, you're not mentioning our name enough. We're not getting talked about enough. Yeah, Carrie What's-Her-Nuts from ESPN? Yeah, she needs to be better. So you're going to get bent out of shape because some reporter flubs? Reporters flub all the time. We flubbed 97 times during this podcast, and we're only halfway through. So come on. Let's be for real.
Okay, now you asked me what I want. Here's what I want. I want
You want a goddamn parade?
No.
With green and white banners everywhere.
Nope. I want a conversation about Michigan State without a conversation about Harbaugh. I want them to not sit there and ask, are you panicking about Michigan? No, they're not panicking about Michigan. They got a quarterback now who's in his 4th or 5th year, and he's going to be great. Connor Cook's going to be
That's
a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Though. It's a legit question because
Why?
We now have a coach who has his head screwed on straight. Not some guy who doesn't wear a headset and goes around Michigan. We actually have a head coach now who came from the NFL, was very productive in the NFL, who sat there and was very productive in the college rankings as well. So it seems to be a legit question depending on the course of the questions.
All you got to ask is, hey, tell us about the running backs. Tell us about your philosophy. Tell us about the new guys you brought in.
Nobody
Tell
wants
us
to hear that.
I want to hear that. What are you talking about? No one wants to hear that.
There's a story there. There's a story because it's
D'Antonio,
MSU and it's U of M.
So you have D'Antonio, and we want to, and people who are watching D'Antonio don't give a crap about Harbaugh. Think about it. D'Antonio's on the TV. So you really think that the audience that's going to be watching that particular segment is going to be Spartan fans?
We're talking about it right now, aren't we?
Because I'm
talking about it right now.
I think
so. Yes.
No, I think it's enough.
I think you just disproved yourself.
No, enough is enough.
Enough.
Michigan State needs to have.
Enough is enough. All of this crying. I'm tired of hearing about it. You guys have won 22 games in the last 2 years. You won a damn Rose Bowl. You won a damn Rose Bowl. When was the last time Michigan won a damn Rose Bowl?
It's not enough. There's not enough attention.
World Conquest. It's not enough.
No, it's not enough.
Not enough. Whole town has to be painted in white and green.
Yes.
Yes. Spartan helmets on every little child.
Yes.
That's it. Shut up. You guys cry all the time.
That's
my God.
That's the new decree.
You Spartan fans, you're all the same. All of you. All of you. I hope you people who are listening, you are all the same. You all are a bunch of insecure little whiny children. Children.
Why wasn't D'Antonio given the marquee speech at the Big Ten conference? Why was he opening the conference?
Was it Urban Meyer? Was it given to Urban Meyer?
I think so. I don't know.
Well, why not?
I just know he wasn't.
Because it's freaking King Urban.
No.
The guy just won a national championship, and he did it with 3 different quarterbacks, bro. I don't know about you, but that's some wizardry shit.
Yeah.
That guy may wave the magic wand.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, honestly, I think Jim Harbaugh, I'm so frustrated. I think Jim Harbaugh is a very good coach. Mark D'Antonio is a very good coach. I think both of them make the Big Ten that much stronger. That being said, Urban Meyer is a notch above both those guys, and that's just the way it is. I think Mark D'Antonio is a great coach. I think he's a great guy. I think everything that he does is outstanding, and I think that it's been proven over time that he is an excellent football coach, and he is exactly what your program needs.
So how come when I throw a tweet out...
you don't need you guys whining about everything. Just because you don't get enough play.
Well, how come when I throw out a tweet, who's better, D'Antonio or Harbaugh, 3-1 Harbaugh?
Because Michigan is a predominant school around here. Honestly, the real facts of the matter is the demographic around here. This is why there are Walmart Wolverines. This is why that's what there is, right? In Detroit and in the Metro Detroit area, and actually in most of the surrounding communities in Michigan, the Michigan brand is much bigger than the Michigan State brand.
That's what I'm upset about.
Okay, so be upset about years of branding.
I want to recruit the Michigan, the Walmarts to the Spartan side. That's what I want.
Well,
now my goals are higher. I want to recruit the Walmarts.
Stop crying then.
Or come to our side.
Here's the deal: when you guys beat your chest and you stick it out loud and proud, people are then intrigued. They're like, "Wow, those guys have something to be proud about." When you guys come over here and you start crying like, "Oh well, D'Antonio was on ESPN and they messed his name up, and they're talking about King Kaki himself, Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh's on ESPN the magazine, and why don't we get any love?" You're ranked 6th in the nation. What more do you want? If U of M was ranked 6th in the nation right now, I would not be wearing pants. I would paint myself yellow, and I would run up and down the street with a blue streak all the way down to my butt crack.
Okay.
That's how it would be.
I want Joe Shad to come on the radio and say Michigan State's going to win the national title. I want Vegas to say, I want reports to come out and says that all the betting lines are on Michigan State to win the national title.
You know why the betting lines are like that?
Fill me in.
Because you're paying $1 to win 100, dude.
Yeah.
So you sit there, you bet $100. What are you going to win? It's insane. You could bet peanuts and win $1 billion. That's how it works. It's just betting. That's stupid, trivial information anyways. Joe Chad, he said what he said, and it's said in 3 years. So Harbaugh still has to develop a program. There's no guarantees that Harbaugh is going to be here in 3 years. He might get a sweetheart deal from the NFL, and he might be looking other way. He might go. He might go. You don't know.
So you're saying calm it down.
I'm just saying there's no need for any of it.
So you're saying there's no disrespect to Michigan State? You're not sensing it?
I don't think there's any disrespect to Michigan State. I think you have a little bit of a point that Michigan doesn't need to be brought up in the same breath as Michigan State all the time.
In every situation?
But I think there's a lot of good questions that come from that, because now there's a legit challenger to you guys now. You guys haven't had a challenge. I mean, we've done this podcast for 2 years now. And whenever it came time for U of M, MSU, you just laughed at me. You just laughed at me. You're like, this is going to be great. And I was like, this is going to suck. And we both knew it. We both knew it. And stupid, foolish pride wouldn't allow me to sit there and side with you. I would sit there, I'd take the points, but we would sit there and make a stupid bet about something, and I'd always end up having to do something retarded. Because that's just the way it is, right? Because that pride wouldn't allow me to sit there and say that you were going to be 100% right. But it's the way it is, man. We actually have a good coach now. We have a decent coach. I think that things are going to return to the way that they were, the Big Two and the Little Eight. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think now there are at least 3 powerhouse schools, and they're all right in this area. MSU's at the top in this state. Then it's U of M. I don't even know if U of M is going to be a powerhouse this year, but I think in some time, maybe 3 years, they'll be a powerhouse. And then you got OSU. I think you got Wisconsin out there who's very good. I think Wisconsin and U of M are kind of on the same plane. I think MSU and Ohio State are on the same plane. Those guys are 1A, 1B. Going down, I think U of M is going to be, I think they're going to be a good program. I have no idea who their quarterback's going to be, which is a big problem, but I think they're going to be a good program. I think Wisconsin's going to be a good program. So I think there's talent here. I think there's a lot of talent in this area of the world, and we just got to stop crying about who gets more pub. Dude, you know what lights up internet sites? U of M does. MSU does not. So when that's just because of the brand.
So that's what I want.
Michigan did a great job branding themselves years ago. Those Michigan Nike jerseys back in the day that I've longed for I don't know, how long has that Adidas contract been going on? They've been pumping out garbage gear. I've longed for those U of M Nike jerseys. That was one of the best jerseys of all time. Of all time. I mean, MSU's got some great stuff. I like Gruff Sparty. I think Gruff Sparty's cool. I think it's pretty neat. I like your bronze and green helmets. I think that stuff's cool. When I go shopping at the mall, I think the MSU gear is much nicer than the U of M gear. I find myself looking at more MSU stuff being like, man, I really would like to wear this, but I can't.
All right. No, you asked me what I want. I want the Michigan brand.
Hug.
I want the Michigan brand love. I want the Michigan brand love from Michigan State.
I'm going to come over there and hug you right now. Hold on. I'm going to come over and hug you.
Okay. I'm getting a hug from the Jock. Okay, very nice. You need to hug me.
You need a hug,
I need a hug, yes.
It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
Okay, good. That's all I want. The Jock came over.
Now?
I feel better. It's not as disrespectful, but...
He feels better now.
I feel better.
All right. Hug.
It's all good. All right, let's take a quick break. That was Jock Jams. You brought it, bro. You brought it, cuz. Good job.
I just screamed a lot.
All right. Stay with us after the break. We're going to talk Lions. It's about time. We're going to be passionate, just as passionate about the Lions, and break it all down. Up next, DetroitSportsPodcast.com, Doc and Jock Podcast, number 104.
Doc and Jock here for Fanatic U, the official outfitters of Detroit Sports and the Detroit Sports Podcast. Fanatic U has a massive selection of t-shirts, hats, and jerseys representing your favorite Detroit teams. Visit FanaticU.com today and check out all the sports gear that you can deck yourself out with. Or stop by one of Fanatic U's 6 convenient locations in Garden City, Taylor, Southfield, Novi, Fraser, or the newest location on Brush Street in downtown Detroit, 1 block away from Comerica Park and directly across from Ford Field. Fanatic U is the spot for the newest, trendiest, and hippest gear in the D. So visit a location near you or check them out on FanaticU.com. And if you go to FanaticU.com, use the promo code DSP and get an extra 15% off, even clearance items. Fanatic U, the official outfitters of the Detroit Sports Podcast and Detroit Sports.
Doc here for DetroitSportsNation.com. Please go and check out their website dedicated to Detroit sports. They have great articles, great writers who are dedicated to providing great content for the city of Detroit and all the Detroit teams. Detroit DetroitSportsNation.com has a huge presence here on the podcast because they have great writers. We've had them on our podcast talking about all the issues regarding the Detroit teams. They are very dedicated and they're very passionate, and that's why we were drawn to them. They have been very supportive of us. You can go to DetroitSportsNation.com/podcasts, and you can find the Doc and Jock podcast, the Motor City Sports Rant podcast. By going to their website, you give them support too, and you can read great articles, strong opinions regarding all Detroit teams 24/7. Other organizations are downsizing. DetroitSportsNation.com is looking to expand all the time. Please do us a favor, support those who support us. Visit DetroitSportsNation.com.
You're the future of our business, and I know when you guys have a podcast like this, our future is in good hands.
You got to check out their stuff. I mean, I'm really impressed by it. You guys have probably one of the better ones I've seen in the country.
Wow.
In a short period of time, you've done good work. Look at me kissing your hand.
I know.
Training camp has started. Football is around the corner, and it's just amazing. It feels so good to now talk about the Detroit Lions. I know the first week of training camp is all, giggles and, oh, everyone's great and, oh, look at all the good plays. But finally, an air of confidence with the Lions. And breaking news, the Lions signed DeAndre Levy to an extension, 4 years, one day after general manager Martin Mayhew came out and said, this is an important player, a young player at age 28, has signed a 4-year extension. I'm very happy to hear that. Now he solidifies the linebacker position, and hopefully now he delivers because now there's going to be some expectations on him. Good news. It was very good news.
It was great news. And I think that we both knew going into the season this was basically priority number one. They wanted to sit there and extend that guy. They don't want another defensive stud walking out that door like Ndamukong Suh did. So I think this was important for the organization to get this done. Now they can sit there and they can move on. Haloti Ngata says he wants a contract here. He wants to stay. So now they can kind of discuss that, see what they can work out there. I'm not sure how well that's going to work. We're going to discuss Haloti Ngata coming up here shortly. But this was key for this organization to help secure and anchor this defense. He is the linchpin on this defense. He is what makes it go. This was important for the organization. They can now move forward. They don't have to worry. He doesn't have to worry about anything bad happening during camp and him not getting his contract. Doesn't have to worry about any of the unnecessary minutia that goes around with contract talk. He can now focus strictly on football, prepare, get ready for the season, and help lead this defense.
Yeah, some early news and notes, some of the players on the PUP list, Joik Bell, Haloti Ngata's a little bit injured. Alex Carter, I believe, was also injured, has been missing some practices. Any concerns, any lingering concerns regarding any of the players that are out? I know people do get a little bit jittery and a little bit anxious when their players don't participate early on, but remember, and I said it on the Motor City Sports Rant podcast, veterans don't really like training camp. Did you hear that amazing story with Marshawn Lynch in Seattle?
Taking naps.
He faked fainting to take a nap. Faked fainting, like, okay, maybe you say you have a cramp or maybe you have something else, but to fake fainting, that's a serious condition, in order to take a nap. So these players are getting inventive, and so a lot of people will say, the holdout was, a little bit challenging, but I really didn't care too much because I missed out on training camp. So a lot of these players kind of that are veterans kind of don't want to go through the rigmarole of training camp. But are you concerned about any of the early injury reports that you're hearing?
The Haloti Ngata one kind of concerns me. It concerns me because he's a bigger dude. So to get ready for the season and to get into shape for the season, I would like you at every training camp you can get into. I would like you going at full speed. It's a hamstring injury, so depending on the degree of the injury, this could be something that just nags him as the season goes on. So I would love to see Haloti Ngata in there. I'd like to see him busting dudes up. I'd like to see him sitting there making a move towards Matt Stafford. Maybe not tackling him, but just making a move towards him and showing that he's in shape and that he's ready to handle the rigors of a 16-game regular season and hopefully, fingers crossed, a playoff win. So that concerns me a bit. It's more to the fact that I don't know what the degree of the injury is, and I'd like him to be out there because I want him to be in shape. When these bigger defensive tackles sit there and they miss training camp, they end up sometimes struggling as the season goes on because they can't get their weight under control. And let's be honest, man, he's not your typical 4-3 defensive tackle. He's a 3-4 nose guard. So he's huge. The guy's massive. I mean, I don't have his weight in front of him. What's his weight? So he's a big dude. He's like 340 pounds. I mean, that's a large man. And depending on where the team wants him, where the organization needs him to be, and depending on what kind of stunts they're throwing in there, on top of it, you have to remember, he's learning a brand new system. This is a new system that he's learning and he's trying to digest. So I want him out there every day he can possibly be out there, working on learning the system, working on his conditioning, working on his game. So when game 1 rolls around, he's out there and he's in prime condition.
Now, some news and notes that I kind of like is the defensive unit is all fed up with all the talk about, oh, you guys are going to have a big drop-off because Sue's gone, all this. I think that's going to be
this motivation.
Yeah, it's going to be a rallying cry for the defense to kind of step up and say, hey, listen, he was a big part, yes, but we can come back and get pressure on the quarterback. We can handle that business, and I don't think it's all doom and gloom with the defense. You have some upgrades at key positions. I think if you have some advancements from some of the players that have been on the roster, I think the defense has a chance, maybe not to be top 5, but to be top 10. I'm not 100% now devastated that Sue's gone. Yes, he was a big, huge force. Yes, you will see the impact of his loss because of all the double teams that he drew. But Terrell Austin is a head coach in waiting, and that he's going to have a scheme put in place to help accentuate the strengths and kind of limit the limitations.
I agree with you 100%. What we have for a defensive coordinator is outstanding. And like you said, he's a head coach in waiting. It'll be a matter, seriously, don't be surprised if next year he's not coaching his own team. And I think you're absolutely right. He'll do a good enough job disguising what their weaknesses are and accentuating their strengths to where this defense, I think it'll be in the top 10 this year. I don't think it's going to be top 5. I don't think it's going to be top 3 like it was last year. It's going to be in the top 10. And I think a lot of that is predicated on the big guy up front, Haloti Ngata. It's going to be Ziggy Ansah's growth, and it's going to be DeAndre Levy sitting there quarterbacking this defense.
And these are all practices and things like that. So you get reports day after day. And, of course, after the first day, it was all like, oh, my gosh, the Lions are amazing. The Lions are going to be in the playoffs. And
running around with shells on and no pads. This is great.
And so let's just put it out there. What's a realistic, fair, objective, because I know you're a journalist, quote unquote, you're a journalist.
I don't say I'm a journalist.
You're not a journalist anymore?
No.
You should be a journalist. We have to have some journalistic credibility here. Just two guys spewing opinions.
I just sit there, I just report stuff, man.
Okay.
I try to be fair and objective.
Okay, I'm not.
I haven't wrote for a newspaper in quite some time.
Okay, what is a realistic expectation for the Lions? Is it to start off with maybe saying 7 to 9 wins just based on the difficulty of the schedule? I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, we can do 10 wins and we get back to the playoffs and things like that. I just feel like the past so much affects what you see, and that a lot of the offense is kind of similar. The defense has changed a little bit. When you take out the one of the best defensive players and you say, well, let's have an improvement over 11 wins, it's kind of tough to say that.
That changed a lot.
Yeah, I think 7 to 9 wins off the bat is realistic. I don't think they're going to be 4-12. I don't think they're going to be horrid. I think they're going to be in between like 7 and 9, and it's going to be a team that misses the playoffs.
They're right in the middle of the pack. They're not going to be great. I don't think they're going to be horrible either. It'll be one of those. I think it'll be a transition season. I think setting the bar at 7 and 9, and then possibly going plus or -2. That gives you a good range of where they'll probably be at. So they have a chance to make the playoffs if the cards fall right for them. But at the same time, you're trying to replace probably, arguably, the number 1 or number 2 defensive tackle in the game. And bringing in big ol' Haloti Ngata, he's a different type of player. So I think there's going to be some growing pains there. On top of that, you had an offense that struggled quite a bit last year. I know that Matthew Stafford's interceptions were down, but so were his yards, so were his touchdowns. That wasn't a boom offense. It was kind of a methodical offense. What is important is if that offense takes a huge step forward, if that offense can be top 10 and that defense can be top 10, they're a playoff caliber team. And I think that they'll get there. At that point, you can possibly start talking about 10 wins. Between 7 and 9 and 9 and 7 is right where this ball club will be. The year after that, you have another year under Caldwell. You have another year with Matthew Stafford in this offense. And if Terrell Austin is still here, you have another year with that defense maturing and getting better. That's when they sit there and they shoot up then. And they sit there and they challenge a team like Green Bay. And they challenge a team like a Denver or a Seattle or even a New Orleans. And you can sit there and you can go point for point with New Orleans. This is one of those transitional years.
Okay, and then, the good thing is, there's a couple players who has drawn everybody's eyes, and one of them is Eric Ebron.
That's your boy.
Yeah, he's my boy. I think he's going to have to step up just based on the fact that if you're an athlete and you have moxie and you hear all the hate that was spewed your way and you don't come back and play better, then something's seriously wrong because his rookie season didn't live up to anybody's expectations. And people are saying, well, yeah, it takes time. And yeah, you got to learn the system and tight ends just don't come out and da-da-da-da-da. But the first couple of days of practice, he made a great catch, and it was reported by everybody that, whoa, Ebron made a catch, whoop-de-woo. And in my opinion, show me on the field, be consistent, and be professional. And the good thing is now, he's not coming out like last year and say, yeah, I'm going to be Rookie of the Year. I'm going to be the next Jimmy Graham. Taper your expectations and over-deliver. That's what you got to do. If there's a spark there, he can be a massive and huge asset for this offense that's going to be looking for some weapons. I mean, you got Calvin Johnson, you got Golden Tate, but those are going to be the guys that are going to be targeted by the defenses. You know that. They're going to be bracketed, and they're going to be covered, and it's going to be really hard to look for those guys. So guys like Lance Moore, the tight ends, running backs are going to have to get some yards and get some stats. And if Ebron can do that, his failed rookie season will play a part in him having a decent season. 5 to 7 touchdowns should be expected, and he can't drop passes. When it's third down and 6, 7, and you get that 8-yard route, boom, you got to catch it, and you got to make plays. Simple as that. 10th pick, all eyes are on him. So far, so good. Crossing our fingers, and we shall see.
I think Ebron establishes himself as a more consistent player this year. He needs to be. Let's just be honest. He's the 10th overall pick. He was your number one guy you took out of that draft class. He needs to become more consistent. He needs to be an option. He needs to be a boom guy. They drafted him for a reason. They envisioned the likes of a Jimmy Graham. That's a high bar to live up to. At this point, I will take what you got from a guy like Jason Witten last year, who looked sick, did not look like the normal Jason Witten. I'm going to expect him to catch more balls, be more consistent. I'm thinking maybe a 75% completion rate with him. He's going to drop balls. It's going to happen. It's the NFL. Nobody's perfect. And like you said, I think 5 touchdowns, I think that's right around the mark where he needs to be. I think he'll be a much improved player. He has to be a much improved player. There's no other options for this team. If he's not, this is going to look really, really bad on Martin Mayhew and that front office. He's got to be better. Ebron comes out doing everything right thus far. He's not talking a whole lot, which is good to hear. He's actually focusing on his game and working on improving. I think he'll be a much improved player, much more consistent. That bodes well for that offense that I'm talking that might be top 10.
Ooh, offense for top 10. And so then, obviously you can't have a Lions chat and not talk about Stafford. And he's the guy. All eyes are going to be on him too. He is the guy that was ranked and kind of looked at as being a second-tier player. In his 7th year, age 27, this is the big year. This is the guy that's going to be expected to make the key play at the right time. And everyone says, well, football is a team game, and you need all facets of the game to be successful. Yes, very true. But at the same time, you also need your quarterback to kind of give you that hope, give you that edge by making some key plays and limiting the turnovers and finding that perfect balance of taking chances, moving the ball down the field, and protecting the football. So now this is a big year. Everyone says between your 5th and 6th year, you make big improvements, and we're still waiting. Show me. That's about it. We have to see it more on the field. It's very realistic for everybody involved to want Stafford to have success, get us to the playoffs, and get us a win.
Here's a question for you. If they make the playoffs, does Stafford, is he instrumental in getting a win? Do they sit there and pull off their first victory in the playoffs in what? How many years is that? 24 years?
Whew, my goodness. It's been a long time, right? It's been a long time since a playoff win. You got to be kidding. 91?
I think it was 91.
24 years.
Yeah.
When you start talking about Lions history, you just start pissing me off. That's horrible. Let's just focus on the here and now.
So is he instrumental in getting the win?
He have to be.
They win? Do they win because of him, or do they win despite him?
No, they win because of him.
Because of him.
Yes, because he's going to make key plays. He's going to go toe to toe with the opposing quarterback, and in the fourth quarter, it's going to be a tight. Most playoff games are usually tight. He'll make the key plays and do what he's got to do to help the offense. With the Lions, it's really tough to be optimistic because if you've been a fan for more than 10 years, you know that heartbreak is just around the corner. But it's going to be fun to watch. I'm just going to take the attitude of, hey, let's watch the Lions. Let's see how they progress. Let's see how they do in their second year with these coaches, and let's see what they can put together. You get into the dance, you never know. It could be our year. Now, wouldn't that be something? We get to the Super Bowl 50, and then you could honor Charlie Sanders, Mel Farr, those that have passed away from the Lions legends. Put the Lions on the map. That's basically what we want. Imagine being a Sparty and loving the Lions. My goodness, the heartache.
Your life has to suck.
No, that doesn't suck. What you want to have happen is you want to cement the organization. The Lions need to arrive. Let's go. You've gotten a number 1, number 2 picks. Can't get to the playoffs and have success? Is it too much to ask? This month is going to be long and tedious. August 13th can't get here fast enough because all the reports are going to be about, Stafford did good this day. Oh, Stafford did bad that day. Stafford's throwing picks to Tulloch and da-da-da-da. The running backs are doing this, and I'm not as fascinated with who's going to win out at number 2. Kellen Moore and Orlovsky, if they're in the game, I know we're not going to have success. So them battling it out is not a big deal on my radar. I don't really care. I want the Lions to have success. It's early, and we can have the optimism. Hope springs eternal for my Lions. Maybe, just maybe, we can say we come out to a hot start and blow through that schedule and maybe be 13-3. Why not dream big? Dream big, but like I said, be prepared for what really could happen. It's going to be a challenging, long season because the schedule is brutal.
It's going to be tempered expectations, man. You got to sit there and you got to temper your expectations. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Remember that this team, coming from where they came from, not last year, but the year before that, they were awful. They did a lot of things right last year, and a couple cards fell their way last year, so they were able to make the playoffs. So this year, expect them to make a playoff push, but I'm not sure if they got the gusto to get in. I think they lost maybe one too many pieces on that defensive line to sit there and really cement themselves as another top 3 defense like they had last year.
We are definitely going to chat on future podcasts with our insiders and definitely get some more insight regarding the news and notes of Lions training camp. So thank you to those who have been downloading this podcast on iTunes, Podomatic, Stitcher, the DetroitSportsNation.com website. We greatly appreciate those who are supporting us. Follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, at Adam R. Stroz, S-T-R-O-Z. And thank you for messaging us and bantering with us each and every week, each and every game. You know where to find us, dominating social media in the Detroit sports scene. For the Jock Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc John McAroon. Thank you for listening to another podcast from Doc and Jock on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Go Lions. I don't know about you, but that's some wizardry shit. Shut up. You have to manufacture hate.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I have voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. They talk to me.